I'm Joe Santos, and I'm a professor of practice in global management at INSEAD in Fontainebleau in France, and I'm currently enjoying Cambridge and Boston, being on sabbatical at MIT Sloan. And to your first question, which really relates to my own research and wanderings around the world over the last many years, I think the leaders in this borderless innovation, this cross-nations innovation, this global innovation term you want to use, are usually companies where clearly innovation is seen as something which is not just R&D, it's not just technical, but it involves knowledge of customers, knowledge of users, knowledge of the market, and so on and so forth, and that the innovation is a combination of these pieces of knowledge, as it were, and these pieces may not all come from the same place, may not all come from the same country. So it's not just about the technical part, it's about the business totality of the innovation. So that's an important beginning, because sometimes a company may have, for example, very good technical skills and R&D capabilities in one country, but be missing the user knowledge that may be required for a particular innovation, and that user knowledge may be in another country, in another continent. And it will be the combination of the two that is the innovation. So that's another thing, this understanding that innovations are combinations, and therefore things that can be managed, and that managers, very senior managers, may need to take into account, because it's not at all obvious. So combinations of knowledge from different parts of the world are very artificial things. They will not occur naturally. So somebody must make sure they happen. So managers must be there. Without managers, this won't happen. So that's surely something that distinguishes them. And I think another thing that distinguishes them is a view of the world that says the world is great because it's made of different peoples. And we're not all the same, we'll never be the same, and we don't even aspire to be the same. Each of us as a people, as a nation, as a country, has different things to contribute. And it's those contributions together that make not just more efficient things, in terms of scale and so forth, but better things, different things. Because we can also combine what we know, and what we know is in part deeply cultural, deeply embedded in our history and in our existence as societies. So that's the difference between, leading companies in this practice and non-leading ones.
How will borderless innovation impact the future?
Well, I think one of the, surely a positive impact of the kinds of innovations that we're talking about, these borderless innovations, or at least innovations that are across borders that once were very visible and now are slowly disappearing, some of them, some of the physical or institutional barriers to that collaboration in the innovative activities inside companies, and I'm referring specifically to companies, is that there is a tremendous opportunity, potential, to create value that were not there before. There is a tremendous difference in, for example, developing a product for one particular market in a particular country, and then taking it to another country. Because although that may be very valuable, there is something that is lost. There is a potential that is lost that could be there if, for example, the technical skills could be combined to begin with the market knowledge of the other place. And who knows, perhaps all consumers will benefit from that. Not just, therefore, the consumers in, as it were, more developed nations, but also consumers in less developed nations, and this has been made much more visible in the recent years. In my view, this became much more visible in recent years, this ability to create value for many more people than just the few hundreds of millions that inhabit the north of the world, so to speak, is this understanding that we don't all need the same things, that we have different needs, and they're all valuable. But without this borderless innovation ability and mindset, it's very difficult to see that the value may be very far from here. Not the value to do everything there, because then we're just replicating there what we used to do here. There's no point to that. But in combining the things of here with the things of there to create things that we were never able to create in the past. So I think there's tremendous potential value creation there. There may be a negative impact, which is the distribution of the wealth created. Who takes what? And policies, even at the government level, may have to be put in place so that, for example, say a company of a particular country, say an American company, does research in a different country, but may have the same benefits, tax-wise or otherwise, from the American government, although the activity itself is being done somewhere else. So if we continue to have the view that all these policies must be directly related to the things that occur within physical borders and institutional borders, that may have a negative impact in the sense that people may have the feeling that the distribution of the wealth around the world is not adequately proportional to the distribution of the creation of the wealth. And that's never a good thing. So that may be a negative impact.
Can you offer one or two examples that you've been involved in or observed that represent an effective implementation of borderless innovation?
Well, I have been fortunate to be part and to research some remarkable instances. So I'll just refer a few. There are more, but some come to my mind. The alliance between Renault and Nissan is an amazing case of innovation in a particular field, in the world of cars, across the world. A true example of this. The system on chip developments by ST Microelectronics is another example. Airbus as a concept, as a model of aircraft, commercial aircraft, is another example. Ambev, a company originally from Brazil in the industry of beer, has been able to create an amazing innovation organizationally and operationally, which has allowed itself to grow, again, through an association with a Belgian multinational. And they were able to together create even more capable organizational innovations that have recently turned them into the largest company in the world of beer. So I've tried to give examples of very different industries, not just high tech. It's relatively easier to find these examples in more high-tech industries, because when quasi-scientific knowledge is involved, borderless innovation is very easy. It's easier, in the sense that scientists have always done borderless innovation, and great scientific discoveries always came from scientists of one country collaborating with scientists of another country, even in the old days, even 100, 200, 300 years old innovations in the science world. High tech has a lot of that. That's why if we move closer to a more mundane world, where human beings have a part, like consuming beer or making beer or using planes, and then I think it's more interesting to find these examples. That's why I've referred to different kinds of examples.
How can senior decision makers avoid pitfalls while pursuing the opportunities available from borderless innovation?
Well, I think a major pitfall comes from this belief, which is really mythical, that the value of, say, R&D units abroad or consumers abroad as sources of knowledge comes because they're low cost. This is an amazing mistake. So in breakthrough innovations, in the innovations that will make us as society move ahead and so on and so forth, cost is not the issue. It's not the cost of engineers or the cost of scientists or the value of a customer in the amount of money the customer buys per year. It's not this that matters. It's the quality of the knowledge they bring that matters. And so there would be a great pitfall to imagine that this process is a process whereby we sort of optimize our performance by adding lower cost mines to the ones we have here. That's a very serious mistake that cannot be made. It's the quality and the newness of the knowledge that is brought by units around the world that creates valuable, quote-unquote, borderless innovations. So that I think is an important one that I would like to clear out of the room, so to speak.
Are there any questions that I didn't ask that I should have?
No, I don't think so. I think you made very good questions. I don't think so. Not that I can recall.
Well, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Wonderful.
My pleasure.